What's up, team? Sean from Rest to Live here. We just got some Netflix earnings out, and I want to present a case for Netflix that's completely different than anything we're hearing in earnings, and maybe not that great if you're an investor in it. But I thought, you know what the heck? I shared these thoughts on a podcast last night, and there's been some pretty good feedback on it so far, so I thought maybe I'd share it with more folks in a little bit slightly longer version, but this will be a quick video. So here's the challenge. We know Netflix is starting to have issues continuing to grow. It makes sense. You can only certainly have so many customers. The other challenge is, what exactly is Netflix? What kind of service does it provide? And maybe we should reclassify what the expectation is. And then finally, if I was personally going to invest in Netflix, what I would be looking for to make it worth my while. I don't currently own Netflix. I have no near-term plans to buy it. So just to be clear, so everyone knows that. So first and foremost, here's the challenge. When you have a company like a Netflix, everything is always about growth of the user base, monthly active users, daily active users, time on platform. These are the metrics that you're going to look at if you're a near-term trader or a long-term trader, to make sure growth is there, the trajectory of the growth is there, etc. One thing that I think we got to remember is this isn't a new company. Netflix started out by sending little red envelopes. I probably still have one around my house somewhere with a CD or a DVD inside. And that's how it started. It was a great option for people who wanted to not have to go out and, go to Blockbuster or to the local video store. It made tons of sense. And ultimately they gained all that business. And they really did at one time transform the world and how we get our content, how we access our content, how we pay to have access to more content. It was brilliant. And it still is a brilliant thing when we look back at it. But the problem today is Netflix is not unique. Netflix now has a non-differentiated model for delivering content. It's a SaaS-based provider, right? I go into my laptop or my TV or my whatever, my phone, and I can easily go to Netflix or Amazon Prime or Paramount or Disney or Xfinity, and then I can go to On Demand. The problem is that the Netflix, the tech company, the deliver and distribution that it had and the power it had in the market, it's gone. And the other issue is we live in a world of maximum capacity, even when we don't want to admit it as a company or as an investor. Let me explain. Let's just say that the total theoretical market might be 8 billion people, because there's 8 billion people on Earth that might want Netflix. Well, let's be honest, right off the bat, you got to cut off anyone who doesn't have direct access to the technology, to internet, right? Okay, get rid of that. Then you want to think about where they actually have rights to share videos, where they have platforms set up in real time, where it's cost effective to go to market. Okay, now maybe we're starting to get an idea of what their total addressable market could be. And even within that total addressable market, right, you still only have really who you can realistically get to the platform and see some value delivery for that consumer. So maybe we'd call that like the serviceable addressable market, right? Layering of how we think about going to market as a SaaS business. Now, here's the problem. A lot of us don't pay for Netflix. I get it through Xfinity, or formerly known as Comcast. A lot of people have it through Verizon, perhaps, or it's on their phone for free. Or, they have it in one household, but like, 4 or 5 people in that house are watching it based off of one subscription. Totally reasonable. It's what you expect. I think the problem is that we have seen this sort of slowed growth rate, which is being seen as this huge negative. But the reality is, like, isn't this just to be expected? They can't just perpetually get new subscribers. It would mean that they have a total and utter grasp on their attrition and churn rates. Those are the customers who leave the platform and are not only finding brand new people to jump on, but exceeding those that leave, or else you don't end up having growth. You have even, right? You stay pretty even on the numbers. That's kind of where I'm at. When I think about Netflix, if I was to stand back completely and say to myself, what is Netflix, right? Well, as far as I can tell, Netflix is a run-of-the-mill delivery system for content distribution. And they are a content creation or media or theater type of house, right? They're like a studio. They're trying to make their own shows, deliver their own unique content, while at the same time having to constantly go out and make sure they have content they can share on their platform. They lost a lot to Disney. They've lost to Paramount. In general, it's kind of a mess, right? So I don't care about the earnings. I didn't even look at them because I'm not interested in them, to be totally frank with you. What I'm looking at is, if I was going to try to value this company, would I look at it as a tech company, a entertainment distribution company, or maybe just a media or content creation company? And if I'm being honest here, I think it's really just a media content creation company. I think that much of the non-original content, right, the old movies, even some of the current movies, I can get them on other channels, right? HBO has them, Showtime has them, on demand with Xfinity or whatever cable provider you have, right? Or maybe it's on Paramount or Hulu or anywhere else or on Disney. So it's like there's sort of like, well, what am I paying for? It's starting to feel like less and less from a subscription perspective. And frankly, if I didn't have it for free with my cable provider, I probably wouldn't have it at all. Which then got me thinking even more like, well, if we can't price it like a tech company, why are we measuring and metricing it like it's a tech company or a SaaS company for that matter? Maybe it's time to compare it to like a Lionsgate or an NBC even, right? I think that's okay. They still have some content delivery on a standard platform while having their own unique shows. Sure, maybe that makes sense. And then it gets me to the question of, would I invest in Netflix? Why or why not? And how would I look at it differently? This again, I never give financial advice because I don't know your financial situation. It's not because I shy away from saying something. It's just because I don't know your portfolio, how you build it, all those kind of great things. But what I want to call out is this. In my portfolio, I don't see a place for a slow growth, former innovative company who now just delivers the occasional show or movie that they create themselves, have to pay for all their own production, directing, acting, etc. I have no interest in owning stock in that kind of a company. Now, however, in that kind of a company with a tech valuation, if I look at this more as a value stock, and they were perhaps to start pay a dividend and focus less on all of the content and all the innovation, but really get down to their core business, right? Generating interesting things, delivering them to its users, keeping the price relatively steady. If we could find a way to peel off some of that revenue in the form of a dividend and have a relatively stabilized price based on what are probably going to be relatively, I know relative is a tough word, but relatively stabilized users, maybe that's when I get interested. But it's not at this market cap. It's not with this level of competition, and it's not with the competition for media. Because now they're not just competing with, I named a whole bunch, but like the Disneys, the HBOs, the channels 4, 5, and 7, right? The on-demands, all the movies that are available on 50 different platforms. They're also competing with attention for YouTube. They're competing for attention with, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Snap, et cetera, right? And it starts to get to a point where it's like, where do they fit within all of this, but yet still seen as a tech company? Because they are most certainly not a tech company in my assertion. They are producing content or licensing content and then simply delivering it to a user. That does not sound like a tech company to me, right? YouTube is a tech company because it is a platform that allows creators to put their own stuff on it. They further expanded the platform by having that angle, plus YouTube TV, plus some original content, perhaps. So this is where Netflix really has to have a moment of, are they going to pivot and do something totally different, add more value to the platform, or just some other totally different thing? Now, we heard earlier today that they're looking more and more at engagement levels on Twitter. They're trying to find new ways to look at analysis. Listen, I don't think that's the problem here. I think the problem is that this is a business that doesn't exist in its original form anymore. It's very easy to copy. And it's very much the same thing as like a DoorDash, a Grubhub, or an Uber Eats. The problem was it's great, but now they're trying to also cook the food. Now you have to manage a kitchen and the Board of Health and all the things that come with it. So what I would say is, let's figure out what Netflix should really be doing and really understand the value of that core part of their business. Because again, it just doesn't feel to me like they have a competitive advantage on any of the fronts that they're currently working on. So maybe it's time to consolidate the thought process, deliver one unified, really strong product. And maybe they can even find ways to generate way better income streams while taking advantage of that attention that they still have. Those are my thoughts on Netflix. They're not related to earnings. It's not related to all that stuff. I was thinking about doing a video on that, but you know what? I'm not even interested in the stock to that degree that I'd want to do that. This is the way I look at it. This is the way I feel about it. I would love to hear if you think I'm completely out of my mind, and people tell me that all the time, or if you agree, maybe we're looking at this the wrong way, or what you would need to see if you were going to make an investment here. So with that, it's not a long one. I appreciate you watching. Thanks so much for stopping by. And with that, hey, good luck out there. We'll see you.